Okay, 6 years ago, I was doing a little bit of work with Juice Plus Australia, and I met this young lad who was an absolute powerhouse. Just a go-getter, had enough of a drive behind her. Big story, as most of us do that are out there, you know, getting traction and rubber on the road. There's always something behind us or behind that drives us. And I met Mel, and she came through and did Relationships in You. And I just happened to be in Bali, and Mel, I think you reached out to me, or I reached out to you, and we were like, hey, why don't we just catch up and have a chat? It's been a long time, what are you doing, da-da-da-da. And I've just spent the past hour and a half chatting with Mel, sharing stories, and it's just been absolutely fantastic.
It's been a blast from the past.
We've laughed a bit.
We've laughed a lot. We've laughed a lot. And I think, you know, I suggested that, hey, we do this video because I really wanted to firstly say thank you, because I don't think I ever have. But Relationships in You for me was, and I was just saying this, was the first time I'd ever heard the word personal development. So I'd come from, you know, a lineage of, you know, broken mindset and nobody that was ever kind of working on themselves. And I heard this word personal development and I was like, I don't even actually know what that means. Yeah. And, you know, I kind of started going down that path of learning what that looked like. And Relationships in You was the first investment that I ever made in myself as a whole. It was the first scary, you know, money that I'd spent. I think I actually borrowed it.
Right.
I think I actually borrowed it to be there. And it absolutely changed the game. And what really stuck out for me, apart from you partying in your paint suit, which is one thing I remember about the stories, was I remember you saying to me, when you leave here, things are going to taste different.
Yeah.
They're going to look different. And in that moment, I remember this guy's off his head. Yeah. Like, this guy he's fruity, you know? Like, how, you know? Because it was so far from me being able to understand what transformation looked like.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out and we were having, we went and ate. I'm pretty sure we'd finished, or whether it was lunchtime or whatever. We're talking 5 or 6 years ago now. And I remember leaving and there was tomato in whatever I ate for lunch or dinner that night or day. And I remember thinking, this has never tasted like this my entire life. Tomato became the most incredible thing I'd ever eaten.
Yeah.
And it was...
I think the funny thing is that what people don't understand about transformation is when you have an actual transformation, because there's so many people out there, like the world is full of coaches, that everyone's a coach, you know? And that's great. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But actual transformation, you have a mental, spiritual and physical metamorphosis. It is you are a completely different human being. And the beauty about it is that you can't go backwards.
No.
You understand? Once you shift, you can't unsee what you see. Yeah. And what you see is so profound, so life-changing, that like 6 years later we can sit down here and you're like, fucking everything changed me. So I said, well, that's what I told you would happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I spend my life trying to let people know, you know, I spend my life saving people from themselves. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's
saying you have an opportunity here to see something, and when you see it, it'll become unmistakable, and you will never have to go back to how it was before. Yeah. And you're a great example of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was wild. And, you know, my mum was the one that we worked on when we were there. And, you know, I think it was that moment that I was kind of given the permission to be like, forgiveness doesn't look like having to take people back.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is actually being allowed to put things down.
Yeah.
And oh my God, you know, I'd carried not only my own weight, but generations of, you know, unhealed trauma. And that was the first moment that I really started to, I didn't feel free the next day, you know, but it was like, oh my God, okay, something's happening. Things are changing. And, you know, I said to you, I was always really reactive. And, you know, it was in this moment that I started to notice that I was in situations like, oh my God, I didn't handle that like I would have.
Yeah.
You know, and this is now 6 years on, and it's like I'm still getting these little moments where I remember, you know, you saying to me, okay, so now we know everything that you went through and, you know, what happened and what made you feel the way you did. If you had a magic wand, would you change it? Yeah. And I was like, no. And you're like, cool. You know, and but it was so profound for me that we spend our whole life, oh, but this happened, oh, but that happened, oh, but me and poor me, you know, and then you're like, yeah, but would you change it? Yeah. And you're like, well, no. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, this is the first step, you know?
It's a funny thing because forgiveness plays into the illusion that something is wrong.
Yeah.
But when you're truthful instead of forgiving, you're actually grateful. So what happens is then is something happens in the reticular activating system of the brain when we collapse a lopsided perception in on top of itself. I'm probably being too complicated for people, but when you rearrange the neural pathways in your brain and you awaken the immortal nature of who you are, and you see that what actually happened to you was there to empower you and enable you and equip you, you suddenly realize, holy shit. If you could give me a magic wand, I'd just hand you the magic wand straight back, because I wouldn't be the person that I am without what happened.
Yeah.
And people get that intellectually. Like, there'll be people listening to this now. We'll go, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it doesn't matter what you think intellectually. It has to happen at a deep subconscious level.
Yeah.
Because if our conscious mind had any control over anything we create, you'd have the Lamborghini, you'd have the Bugatti, you'd be the traveling nomad. But your conscious mind has no control over that stuff.
Yeah.
What you're capable of creating has to happen at a deep subconscious level, and this is what an actual breakthrough is.
Yeah.
When a person goes, when you show them that everything you think was in the way is the way. It was there
And
to
that
equip
was
you and
so
tool you.
hard for me sitting in that room coming from child abuse.
Yeah.
To hear you say that.
Yeah, I know.
I was so triggered. I
Yeah.
was like, this guy's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we don't ask for these things. We didn't bring it on. But now I can sit here and say I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Would I want it to maybe look different if I had my chance again? It probably would shift a few things, but I'm so grateful for who I became.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful now for the beacons with 2 daughters of my own.
Yeah.
I see things that others don't. I pick up on
absolutely.
energy that others don't.
Yeah.
And I never would have been given that superpower. And I believe that, I went through what I went through because now I am here to protect.
Yeah.
And now I can actually do it from a place of knowing.
That's exactly right.
But this is 5 or 6 years later
Yeah.
that some of these huge epiphanies and these huge breakthroughs have actually nestled in.
Yeah.
We've-
But I mean, the thing about it is that people, we were talking earlier about how we have backstories, right?
Yes.
And people who have had really big things happen to them, they have these huge perceived losses. There was no protection, there was no love, there was no care, there was no. The greater the void, the greater the value, the bigger the destiny. The greater the void, the greater the value, the bigger the calling. So when I meet people that have perceived trauma, my objective is to show them you're not here to spend your life trying to fit in.
Yeah.
You're here to stand out.
Yeah.
That's why that happened. It didn't. This is your fucking superpower.
Yeah.
This is what is going to drive you. So people go, oh yeah, but no. If you stop and actually get it, you will realize I wouldn't change a motherfucking thing.
Yeah, 100%.
And now when you're in that position of power, it doesn't matter what comes in front of you. Because if you can handle that and turn that into the greatest thing, then bring on any challenge
Bring
you
it
want.
on.
Show me any challenge you want.
Yeah.
I understand that challenges come into my life to empower me and enable me and get me to where I want to get to.
And I think that now I look at challenges from a different angle. I actually get excited now.
Yeah.
When it feels hard and it feels, like I don't know what to do and I don't know what the next step is, I get really excited for like, oh, okay, we're about to arrive somewhere.
Yeah.
There's something on the other side of this. And I'd heard all this stuff, coming from network marketing. I'd heard all the bloody one-liners, these challenges on the other way, on the other side of fear or pain, I'd heard it all, but I hadn't embodied it.
Absolutely.
In one ear, out the other. I hadn't embodied it. And now, I don't think I've ever been as embodied where it's like, oh my God, yes, let's do this,
It's a funny thing because how... if we look at the higher end of town, right? There are certain feelings and emotions that people don't want to feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens is that the banks and fraternities market to that.
Yeah.
So they go, when you drink this black drink, you're going to feel like you're on the beach pushing a beach ball, right?
Yeah.
When you drive the Audi, you're going to feel like a doctor.
Yeah.
So what they do is they market to your insecurities. Now, what happens is that the masses get caught in that, right? So they get caught in that, I'm now in that thing. Part of that marketing is the sale of a person that, what happened to you was amazing and da-da-da-da-da. But the proof is really in the pudding. So the proof is in, okay, have you actually turned this? Is tomorrow the greatest example of what you're capable of creating based on what happened to you before? And if you are not doing that and you are just in this cyclical, repetitive cycle of doing the same thing over and over again, you're never going to get there.
Yeah.
But what awaits, and it's like, even like if you're listening to this now, everything that happened to you is the answer. It is the key. It is the tool.
If you let it.
But you have to stop and look.
Yeah.
And you have to get, just because you're hearing this, it doesn't mean anything. You have to go, no, I actually need to see that.
Yeah.
Because if I see that, then I will turn it into my greatest gift.
Yeah, I think one thing that really confused me on this journey as well was I'd always hear people saying you got to do the work.
Right.
And I never actually understood. And I'm sure people listening to this now will go, oh my God, I felt that. You know, we've got to do the work.
Yeah.
And doing the work was doing snow angels in your shit, being in the hard moments and actually feeling it rather than suppressing it, and you know, reaching out for help and investing in yourself. You know, I think that was so huge for me, coming from a lineage of poverty mindset. You know, spending thousands of dollars on yourself, you know, for something that you're not quite sure on the outcome. That's crazy. You know.
But you see, people will spend thousands of dollars on short-term satisfaction stuff, which the banks of eternities market to them because they know they don't want to, you know, you want to have the cake because you want to feel full.
Yeah.
You want to have the lover because you want to feel loved.
Yeah.
And so they market to those insecurities. Now, here's the cool thing, this is the way to see it, right? That you are going to have challenges. So you're going to have challenges. Like you're going to have bills, you're going to have parking fines, you're going to have speeding fines, interest rate rises. And the problem is that they're petty challenges, right? Now, but when you break through, you pick up the reins of your life. Now you're in charge of the challenges, and when you're in charge of the challenges, like we just spoke about, one of your challenges at the moment is that you want to be able to buy a super yacht. You know, like I mentioned, I want a fucking super yacht, and I'm like, what a fucking great challenge,
isn't it?
Right?
What?
So I would rather a human being's mind occupied with the priority of achieving that goal than being occupied with how the fuck do I pay my parking bill, or how do I pay my gas bill, or how do I appease these banks of eternities who do not give a shit about you and just want to milk you and you're a product to them, as opposed to going, no. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to pick up the reins of my own life. I'm going to create my own challenges. And when you create your own challenges, you're fucking inspired in the morning when you wake up. You are like, let's go get it. I'm not going to let anything get in the way. I'm just going to go get it.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have explained it any better. It's such a empowering piece of the puzzle when you can look back and go, I took a punt on myself. I trusted myself. And I think a lot of people don't make that jump because they actually don't trust that they're going to do the work. So, I better not invest because, you know, I don't really want to do it.
I mean, think about it.
You know,
I say to my audiences all the time, okay, take your index finger. Now point at the worst fucking coach you've ever met. And of course, everybody goes, I'm the worst fucking coach I've ever met. So when I was doing my PD work, when I was going through and I was doing all my stuff, you know, I'd see these guys fly into town. And I could have, you've heard me say before, I could have fed little Ethiopia with the amount of money I spent on personal development work. So when we were putting this together 24 years ago, you know, our objective was I wanted to be able to grab people by the hand and show them life is just a fucking system. It's just this, as long as you follow the system, and the history has left all the clues for you to get to wherever you want to get to financially. But if your mind, your subconscious mind is occupied by low priority bullshit, it can never be occupied by high priority topics. So now this conversation, you walk in here, Mel, and you think about where you were when we met. And you're sitting down here
we should probably give some context, right? Like, I was in a domestic violence relationship, probably not on a, you know, crazy high level, but it was still, you know, not a healthy relationship. You know, I had recently become a single mum before that. You know, I was literally scared to check the letterbox. Like, I was fearful of our future. I'd picked up a network marketing business where I was like, oh my God, time freedom, you know, and financial freedom and all the things that I thought I wanted, you know, and that were really important to me. And I was fucking lost. I was so lost, you know. I was doing the things and I was spinning my wheels, you know, but I wasn't going anywhere. And it was because I was running the same pattern. I was running the same story. And, I mean, relationships and you, I didn't go any further than that. I did relationships and you, and for me that was it. That was all I, not saying all I needed, but in that moment I made the decision that, hey, you know what, I'm off and running, and this is off I go, and off I went.
And you listen, you did that, and I mean, look at how it's turned out. You know?
It's been pretty incredible.
But I get what it takes, because people have got to stop and make that decision. Okay, do I keep going like this? And do I keep lying to me and everybody else around me? Because birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
Do I keep, or do I go, you know what? This is not what I want. So what do you want?
And that was a pivotal moment for me, was where are we going?
Yeah.
You know, and it was so important to me coming from that family that never really raised me up to be that for my daughters.
Yeah.
And rather than telling them what they should be, it was really important for me to show them.
Oh.
And go first.
Yeah.
That was so important to me, and I did it. You know, and I did that. But I only did that because I took the first step, and that was with you. First step was with you, and it's just been the gift that keeps on giving. You know, not reacting in situations, not holding hate towards my mum. You know, all these things, and you know, now being in a place. To give a bit of context on that, you know, I haven't spoken to her for 10 years. I didn't come out of your program and go, oh, you know, they said I need to forgive, so I must go and make amends. I actually went, you know what, I'm going to put this down because it feels right. I don't need to continue to put energy there. And, you know,
because you got it.
It's in my best interest that, you know, we just part our ways. And now I'm not troubled by this every day of my life. You know, I'm not making emotional decisions because I've got broken shit going on in the background. You know, and it's the nicest feeling to be able to walk away from a situation just with peace. There's no like no one wrong. There's no
up, there's
she
no down.
did this and she did that. I know the story. She knows the story. But what? No one's wrong in this. It's just a decision that was made in time based on what I know and feel now.
Yeah, I think
and it's so empowering.
It's an important thing to understand there. Like, I'm so anti-forgiveness. Forgiveness is nonsense. Because if forgiveness puts a person on parole, I forgive you, but don't do it again. But when you're truthful, instead of forgiving, you realize I'd gladly have it happen again because I know what it gave me. I know how it empowered me, enabled me, and all I am in my heart is thank you, Mum. Thank you for what you did. And whether you're in my life or not in my life, I'm loved. And whether you're in my life or not in my life, I'm enough. I'm enough. Yeah,
and I think, you know, I think there was another moment as well where you had said you were handed this because you can handle it. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and you go through life and you feel not enough, or somebody, you know, you'll go through those moments, and in that moment it was like, oh my God, more than enough. I'm carrying my shit and everyone else's because I was the one that was going to break generations of trauma. You know,
the way to understand it, which is quite beautiful, is, you know, I remember going through the same stuff. I was like, you know, but why does it have to be me? Right? So why does it have to be? Why am I the one that has to do this work? Why am I the one that has to pick up the reins? Why am I the one that has to do the drive? Why am I the one that has to earn the money? And I remember one of my mentors saying to me, because you got the insight. I was like, fuck off. And like, Mitch, they just don't have the insight. You have the insight, meaning you have the vision and you can do it.
You just know a bit more. And
that's okay. You know what I mean? That's okay. So why do these things happen to us? Because they create our insight. And you have, if you don't ever want to get to the end of your life and look back and go, did I spend my whole life being a fucking victim? Is that what I? Is that what I did? Like I'm never going to see another sunrise. I'm never going to see another sunset. Is that what I spent my life doing? Because that is a waste of your life.
100%.
You are better to stop and realize and sit down and get that you're the chances of you being here are so enormous. Like, here's a cool stat, right? If a male has an ejaculation at 12, and he has an ejaculation 3 times a week, right? And at the average age of somebody having a child now is 35, right? So he's 3 ejaculations a week until he's 35 years old. That means that every person listening to this right now has a 1 in 1.75 trillion chance of being here. Like,
and you're worried about what? You're worried about what?
What? And, you know, so you are meant to be here. So, but the question again is, you know, have you picked up the reins? Are you fucking going for it? And if you're not, well, what are you waiting on? Because there's no green light. And maybe waiting your turn is costing you the biggest paycheck of your life.
100%.
The biggest paycheck of your life because you're waiting on your turn.
Well, it would have for me. If I hadn't invested with you and got the ball rolling and have then gone on and invested tons of money in this space, I would have paid
Yeah.
it probably would have paid my life. I
Yeah.
probably would have not been here.
We wouldn't
you
be
know?
sitting here having this conversation.
No,
about-
I'm unsure I'd still be on this planet, to be honest, because it would have been
Maybe.
too much. I would have not been able to handle and cope. I would have not had the tools that I have to be able to get through. And I honestly don't believe that I would have made it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
You're a legend.
My absolute pleasure.
Yes.